Welcome to our course, Zero Trust, Security Transformation for the Enterprise. In today's digital landscape, the concept of a network perimeter is a blurry one, or, speaking from a risk perspective, cannot be relied on. The concept of everyone within the perimeter being honest and well-intentioned is a highly risky position to take, given how complex the digital world is today compared to 10 or 20 years ago. A growing number of bring-your-own-device users, cloud-based architectures, and especially the influx of remote users makes perimeter-based security an outdated paradigm. In the Zero Trust model, security access decisions are not based on network and perimeter-based architecture, but of those based on the user's identity, device, and context. This framework ensures that authenticated users are only authorized to access applications and data they are entitled to based on their role, responsibilities, or both. This course will be taught in a series of lectures and discussions using slides, video, and demonstrations. Some foundational concepts will be taught, such as application security, risk management, and incident management, so that the Zero Trust model can be put into the appropriate context. I'll include some recent examples of recent security incidents and how those could potentially influence decisions on adopting a Zero Trust strategy. We have quite a journey ahead of us, so I hope this course contributes to your professional development and provides a better understanding of protecting your digital business. Let's quickly go over the intended audience for this course. The reasons you've been led here could vary. You could be a decision maker within your organization who is leading the charge on implementing a Zero Trust model for your business. You could be one of the key technical subject matter experts on enterprises networking or security, who is responsible for the execution and implementation of a Zero Trust strategy. Or you could simply be curious about what's happening in the security world and where Zero Trust fits. A combination of these things could have led you here. No matter your motivation, I hope you take away the correct fundamentals and you're put on the right path to reach your goals. Here's what you'll learn in this course: the key pillars of what makes up the Zero Trust model and how that differs from a traditional perimeter-based model. The importance of understanding threats to the enterprise and how Zero Trust mitigates threats and risk to that enterprise. The solutions and capabilities that make up a Zero Trust security posture. The practical steps necessary to protect your network and applications by implementing a Zero Trust architecture. And finally, once you've actually moved to a Zero Trust architecture, how to respond to and mitigate threats. Now, here are the individual modules that you can expect to see from this course, and they'll guide you on what you'll learn. We're here in the introduction section, where we welcome you to the course. In the next section, we'll go over foundational security concepts, such as general terms and definitions, and risk management. Section 3 will be the threat landscape. We'll have a video on malicious actors and their motivations, and the impact of a breach. We'll also look at some case studies here. Next is a section on application security. We'll talk about what application security is, what are examples of web application exploits. We'll talk about secure development practices. We'll talk about the web application firewall, which is a very important component of Zero Trust. And I'll give you a little demonstration on what a web application firewall does. The next section is identity management. I'll give you an introduction to this concept. I'll talk about the identity management principles and tie together identity management with Zero Trust. In the micro-segmentation section, I'll give you an introduction to what micro-segmentation is and how to possibly approach that within your organization. The next section is threat protection. This relatively short section is going to talk about threat protection solutions in Zero Trust. Likewise, the next section on application access is also a relatively quick section, but it talks about how an application access solution works and how it fits into the Zero Trust reference architecture. The next video is on incident management. I'll give you an introduction to this concept, talk about an incident management framework, and then frame that in a Zero Trust context. In the final section, I'll give you key takeaways and say thank you and wrap it up. Now, let's actually talk about what Zero Trust is. Zero Trust is a model that ensures security and access decisions are dynamically enforced based on identity, device, and user context. This essentially turns the traditional network perimeter-based model on its head. You might recognize this movie reference. So, in Zero Trust, there is no perimeter. Like Neo in The Matrix, you'll likely be going through this training course with a mindset that challenges how you view your network perimeter today. You can think of your network perimeter as a virtual fence that protects your enterprise. But once you're behind that fence, what is preventing that individual from moving laterally within the network? With Zero Trust, the fence doesn't exist. but that the user's identity determines what they can access. Now, before we get into some zero trust fundamentals, I think it makes sense to set a proverbial foundation. You may have heard this saying before, trust but verify. If you're not familiar with this saying, it was taught to President Ronald Reagan by an American scholar who used it frequently when discussing United States relations with the Soviet Union over nuclear proliferation. Essentially, the two sides agreed to reduce their stockpile of nuclear weapons, and this was the mantra that Reagan used to ensure that the Russian side of the deal was being upheld. Zero trust, however, takes this philosophy a step further. The core mantra of zero trust is never trust, always verify. Compared to the Russian proverb, this is a more strict stance to take. In today's world of ever-evolving security risks, this shouldn't be that surprising. Access to services or application resources must be based on identity and the rights, business needs, or authorization of the identified person, and never based on the network that the device or person is coming from. Here are the three core principles. 1. All networks are untrusted. This means you can't make any assumptions about the security of your network, the security of the communication between networks, nor can you trust the individuals accessing those networks. 2nd, least privilege access must be enforced. This ensures that a group or individual can only access what they are authorized to. For example, someone who works in human resources shouldn't have access to networking equipment like routers. In a traditional access model, users connecting to a network using something like a VPN would have unrestricted access to any device on the network. Going back to number 1, would you trust individuals with unrestricted access to your network? Probably not. Finally, number 3, assume breach. Inspect and monitor everything. All too often, we hear about breaches being publicly disclosed long after it's taken place. Having a comprehensive inspection and monitoring strategy, and having the necessary tools implemented, will enable quicker reaction to breach events. Also, you should be covering the entire enterprise, because a breach just as easily can start in an unmonitored section of your network. Also, segment your network so that if some kind of compromise occurs, it contains the spread and impact of malicious software that can compromise sensitive information. We've only just started to scratch the surface of zero trust. We have quite a journey ahead. But, like any other course, we're going to provide some general terms and definitions. These may not necessarily be part of zero trust, but like most things in the security space, we need to think big picture. I'll see you in the next video.